Guys, welcome to Iris After Hours. Here we are on the Sea of Galilee in the
Oh,
Holy Land. This is incredible. Heidi, this is where it all started.
yeah,
How amazing it is to be here.
it's the best. And
Come
just
on.
worshiping on that boat, it was so beautiful.
Wasn't it
Just being in
amazing?
the presence out on the Sea of Galilee.
Come
I love
on.
it.
So this is actually a physical place where it all happened. Isn't this amazing? That
Yeah.
God has left this here for us to come back to actually to realize it's real. Where he
Mhm.
walked, where he lived, he was very real. He had a body, he had a mama, he had a papa, and he lived his life here. And I just want to read a little bit here about what happened here in
Yeah.
Galilee. This is just like Wikipedia. This is really cool. So this is the section of if I can find it, here we go. Of
What happened
what
here
happened,
in
yeah.
Galilee?
According to the Gospels, Jesus' earthly ministry centered around the Sea of Galilee.
Right here. This is where it happened.
While important events occurred in Jerusalem, the Lord spent most of his 3 years of his ministry along the shores of this freshwater lake. Here, he gave more than half of his parables, and here he performed most of his miracles.
Wow.
Wow.
Come on, Lord.
Come on, Jesus.
We want your miracles to keep happening.
Yeah, we need them to keep happening.
And they have to keep happening. And you walk around this place and you just feel the presence of God. And you think, Lord, how do I carry your glory out to the ends of the earth?
Yeah.
And we remember too, this is where he first called his disciples.
Oh, yes.
This is it. And we read it in Matthew. And it's just so powerful how he literally walked in this place right here, right in this,
Capernaum is just
in
right,
this area.
just over there.
Yeah, and it says in Matthew 5:18, now as Yeshua was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon and who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, and they were casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. So they were just making a living. They were doing what they were called to do. And suddenly Yeshua just interrupted them in the middle of their stuff.
Whoa.
He does that with us. He just interrupts us in the best of ways.
Absolutely.
And he said to them, follow me.
Whoa.
And God's calling all of us to follow him wherever it is. And we follow him into different paths, different journeys all over the world. At that time, he was saying, follow me right here in Galilee. Follow me wherever I lead you in Israel, and follow me and learn from me and be discipled by me. And he said, I will make you fishers of men.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Fishers of men.
Fishers of men.
So he took practically what they were doing in their everyday life and went, actually, we're going to use exactly what you're doing for the kingdom.
For the kingdom.
To save souls, to bring people back to their Father.
Right.
Back to Abba.
Spirit of adoption. Whoa. And we read that in Ezekiel 47. Where he said, they're not going to be fishing with like a pole. It said they're going to be fishing with nets. Wow. And I feel like as we're immersed in intimacy with Yeshua, we're so close to him. We're so close to him, and we live inside his heart. Then we're going to be like those fishers of men.
Come on.
Where it's not this great effort. Oh, come on, I want to lead people to Yeshua. I want to lead people to adoption. But we're literally going where the fish, the men, the women, the children that are hungry for life.
Yes.
We're created for relationship with Yeshua.
Exactly.
We really are. Like, we are called to live with him where he is.
Yes.
And we're all called to follow him. So I want to ask you, Nathan, just what was it like? There you were, you and Sarah, in Mozambique, in northern Mozambique, one of the most unreached people groups on the face of the planet. When we got there, the poorest nation and the poorest people on the planet. What was it like when God called you to the most unlikely place
Yes.
in the world?
It was a shock. It was a real shock for Sarah.
Tell me about that journey.
Well, it became clear when we were in the dirt in Africa that God was calling us to Hollywood. And we were going, what? We've come to Africa and you were saying Hollywood? And it was a real shock because we were ready to be there and to be wherever God led us.
Live in the mud hut, do whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was like Jesus walked in and said, I'm going to make you fishers of men. back where you've been trained, because both Sarah had both trained as
Right.
actors, and we had that background, and we'd given it all up. And he said, no, I want you to go back into the center of the industry and become fishers of men for me there. Be my lights. And so that was like such a transition. And it was interesting though, but the training we got in Africa about how to be a sent one, how to be in a land and a culture not of your own, and be sensitive and recognize things and not be imposing on a culture, you know. So we learned all these things, and then just the fire of revival that burns in Pemba.
Yeah,
that was in our hearts to take to.
It stayed in there hot, because you're oil of intimacy.
And that's what we need. You can't do it without intimacy. You can't do it without his presence. And that still is our primary pursuit. Even in Hollywood, what we learned in Pemba, just his presence first and foremost. Because we can't do it without him, Heidi. There's nothing without him. And until we realize we're going to be shoving everything else in our way, in our lives, to try and make it ourselves feel peaceful or whatever, it doesn't work. It's only him. And when him and his presence are with us, and then we go, we can breathe.
Inside his heart.
We have the shalom. Yeah. Inside his heart, exactly. Yeah. Then we can be in the land and do what we're called to do.
Right.
And reach out to the people in Hollywood where we're called now. Yeah.
And as you reach out to them, and like this project here and different things, it goes out. It goes out further. And his presence, and even this place, seeing it in film, you could say, well, wow, God's going to touch me right here just watching, and I'm going to be undone. And I feel like God wants to touch people even during this little talk.
Absolutely. Right now, you're probably feeling his presence right now.
Yeah, and sometimes you might be saying, well, I don't know, why would God call me to Hollywood? Or why would God call me to North Korea? Or why would I be called to Ethiopia or Ohio? Because he knows who we are. Exactly. Like each one of us, we're just little vessels.
Absolutely.
And as little vessels, all we can do is yield. But drop our nets, drop what we're doing. For me, maybe tell me your take on it after, but for me, dropping a net means I'm dropping my own ideas.
Wow.
You know, the way that I've been doing things, my own agenda.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you're just never going to do work that you receive finance for instance, ever again. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you're going to be a sent out faith one, and you just, it does mean a place of trust though. Like
it doesn't mean everything's going to go smoothly either.
No, not at all. Oh, wow. That's a good word. Like
that's our next podcast.
Storms. The storm. We're going to go into the storm next one. But you drop your own agenda. You drop your own stuff. And then he says, come on and follow me immediately. He's not waiting for us to just kind of figure out if we want to worship him, if we want to give him our whole life. He's saying, come on, guys, immediately. I'm worthy.
On, that's a word
Yeshua
right
is saying, I'm worthy of your life. So immediately,
someone's feeling that.
Your own agenda needs to be laid down, your own means of making it happen.
Yep.
You know, that's how they made a living. That's how they made it happen. And they let that go. And going on from here, he saw two other brothers, Jacob and the son Zebedee, and John his brother. And there in the boat with Zebedee, their father, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left their boat and their father, and they followed him. And Yeshua was going throughout all of Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. Good news.
Come on.
What does good news of the kingdom look like in Hollywood? What does it look like in Mozambique? What does it look like in Brazil? What does it look like wherever you are? Good news of the kingdom. And the good news of the kingdom, he was healing every kind of disease and sickness among the people.
Come on, Jesus.
So tell me about some of the things you've seen in the most unlikely place. You know, what are the places people say never would be a mission field, or they think, no, it's impossible, but God called you. And you won the lottery.
Yeah, the green card lottery.
The
actually,
green card
to get
lottery.
residency in the United States, so we could actually live there.
Like
yeah.
you couldn't have even moved to America. No. You were in the dirt in Mozambique on your faces, worshiping God, being willing to give your life for the poorest people on the planet. I remember Sarah just shaking and sobbing as the fire of God just fell on her and said, go to Hollywood. Yeah. And I love telling a story here, you know, in Galilee, hearing these other believers, the body of Christ, worshiping there in the background. I love the body of Yeshua. It's so beautiful.
Is amazing.
But what happened for you as you heard the Lord say, bring his kingdom, bring the beauty of this connection you have, and you really got an impartation in Mozambique.
Yes.
Bring this to Hollywood. And what are some of the stories, Nathan, of the healings you've seen in Hollywood?
Yeah, it's been incredible.
Bodies, hearts.
Yeah, God told us to go. It's funny you mentioned the agenda thing, because that was our clear word we got. No agenda. Right. We don't want an agenda. So that was our first laying down of the net, going there. And then he said, you're to be a mother and father. That was the only things he told us. Yeah. A mother and a father. And so we just started creating community, and we connected with people, and we got a crazy financial miracle where we were able to purchase a house. Someone said to us, you are called here. You have to own a house.
It's a big house.
Yes, it's a 4-bedroom house. Here's a cash deposit. Go buy a house, because you're called here. And to have authority in the land, you need to own property in the land you're called to. Yeah. So it was like, what? So that was so crazy. So we just used our house. That was a
real sign.
Oh, and it was a whole prophetic thing because we had to renovate it. It was a rundown wreck of a house, that we fixed it all up, and God was giving us prophetic words all the time. This is what you're going to be doing to people's lives here in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You're going to be restoring them from the wreck that they've become. Mm-hmm. So we've created community. We have people in our home a lot. We have worship nights. We focus on the presence of God in our house. We have sometimes 40 to 50 people in our house.
Yard.
In the yard.
which was also a miracle.
Yes.
How you just got the plants to grow around and get around all the...
So we planted a hedge because we weren't allowed to have a fence. So now we've got an enclosed area, which is really
so
cool.
Beautiful too. Yeah.
So basically, and we had an adoption ceremony at our school we ran there just then. Yeah. And we had kids coming up just hugging parents who were real parents, and they were just sobbing in our arms going, thank you for doing this. Just that acceptance to know that they are the beloved. And that's what we're bringing. The good news of the kingdom in Hollywood is that you are loved. Mm-hmm. You're accepted who you are, how you are, and you're embraced, and you start there. You can't start anywhere else. To start your identity, you've got to start as the beloved, that you are beloved of God. Otherwise, you're going to be looking for everything else to try and make yourself feel good and have an identity in something. Right. But if you start with your identity as the beloved of God, and that's what we try to bring.
It's okay if you're cleaning a beach, which a lot of our team's doing right now, and we're on our assignment talking about our journeys. And it's okay if God's using you in a film,
exactly.
You know, or God's sending you to the bush, wherever Absolutely. He's sending you,
whatever your net is.
It's
fine, and wherever it is, because Jesus walks into wherever you are, wherever you're working, and this is your place you're sent to.
Yeah, it is, and He's sending all of us on a journey, isn't He?
Absolutely,
this journey of life. And what I think you've seen a lot of people whose hearts have been healed.
Yes.
But have you also seen physical healings?
Yes, we've seen physical healings. People who have been like sick, and we've seen someone with cancer who was healed and has gone into remission from cancer, and breast cancer, and that was it's been crazy. All sorts of stuff. Babies, like our little
tell us about. I was really there for that. But the other part of the world, which is what's cool about technology now, it can either be a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, the devil can use it, or God can use it.
Or God can use it. And when Reuben was born, the Lord used that because we got to contend for his life. Tell us a little bit about
couldn't get
his
enough
story.
Oxygen when he was born, so he was raced off to the.
He wasn't breathing.
He wasn't breathing. His oxygen was too low.
Gone.
Yeah. And so
he was gone.
Did you call? I can't remember whether you called or we called you.
I think
you were calling.
I was calling you,
and we answered and said, "Heidi, we need to pray.
Yeah.
Reuben's in trouble." And immediately Heidi was in Africa with her kids.
You said he's not breathing.
Yeah.
He's not, and Sarah was screaming, he's not breathing. If you don't have breath, you're not alive. Okay, so this was a serious situation. He stopped breathing.
Yep.
And what happened in your heart? I mean, we were in Mozambique. We just done a wedding with one of my spiritual children. We were in a car with kids that I'd found on the street through the years, and we started contending in this, just groaning, praying, interceding. What was going on when your third son was born and then he stopped breathing? Like, what's going on in your heart right now?
It's that place where you go, everything's just got to rely on God. You know it's death, or God's got to do something, or you're cactus. You are gone. And it's just that, it's that place where panic wants to take over you, and you've just got to go, okay, I can't go into panic. I've just got to go into the Lord and get into your spirit and just contend in the spirit and just trust God and just go, God, God, God. And you're just crying out in your heart fully just for the Lord and for his presence.
And trusting him. And you need others around you, don't you?
And then you called. It was like, yes. And I knew, I could feel it. When you started praying, the whole atmosphere of the room changed. Because I think you prayed on the phone with us out loud. We put you on speakerphone.
For about almost an hour, I think. Yeah. And then the Lord said to me, he's going to live.
Yeah.
And then I said, call me back.
You said in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes, you're going to get news.
You're going to get news, yeah.
Call me back. He's fine.
Yeah.
And I said, we're done. Point. But there was this contending in the spirit. And I think that's something we have to learn. This is like, look at how peaceful this looks right now. But sometimes this lake has crazy storms.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go in the next session we're going to talk about the storms.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that. But right now, let's just look a little bit more about what does it mean here when he's saying he's healing every kind of disease and sickness among the people. And news about him spread throughout all of Syria. Wow, that's just right here.
Syria's literally just across the lake here.
You know, there's a lot of conflict going on all over the world. But news about Yeshua spread to Syria.
God, let that happen today.
You know, we need that to happen again, to Jordan, to Syria, to all of Israel. The news about this one who's still alive. Yeshua is still alive. And he lives inside of us. You know, he lives inside of you, inside of me. My physical home is Mozambique, northern Mozambique, but I travel the world over a third of my life now. Why is that? My life's not my own. You know, I literally live over a third of my life out of a suitcase. Would I have chosen that? No way. Was that a struggle? Was that a fight? Yes. Do people misunderstand and say, oh, you don't really live in Mozambique. You're all over the world. You're staying here and there. Well, it wasn't my choice.
No. You're being obedient.
I'm literally being obedient to God. Being in Israel, we're being obedient to God because really we plan to have this time with these amazing lovers of God that are with us from the nations in Mozambique.
Yes.
And all the doors got closed and suddenly it's like, where are we supposed to go? And the Lord really said, out of Jerusalem, onto the ends of the earth, like out of Israel onto the ends of the earth. There's literally a peace that all believers get in this land.
Oh, I can feel it right now. You can feel it.
Like in this land, we get this peace of what it means to drop our nets, to love the people of this land. Like this is a real place. This is not a fairy tale.
No.
Like,
and this is beyond the price of whatever your air ticket is to get here because money's irrelevant. What you take from this land and take back to where you come from is so more important than any amount of money you spend to get here.
Right. And it's a good report.
Yes.
You've got to bring a good report from the land and say, you know, what God promised to his people, his firstborn sons, what he promised about Israel, what he promised to the Jewish people, he's literally doing it.
Yeah, he is.
And make no mistake about it, Jesus came to us as a Jew.
Yep.
Jesus was a Jewish man. He was born here in Israel. He walked, he crawled, he nursed at Mary's breast. I mean,
just over there in Nazareth.
He's a total Jew.
Yeah.
And he's a God man. So God decides to send his son as a Jewish baby, born of a virgin. And so as we walk in this land, we learn about it. And so when we come to this land, or even if you can't get here and it's so frustrating, but somehow you can see us here talking.
You can pick it up right now.
You can say, "Oh God, give me a heart for the people of Israel, but give me a heart for you, Lord, where I can lay my net down and I'll just follow you wherever you want." And let me be one like Yeshua that stops and prays for the sick.
Yes.
You know, he didn't just speak to the multitudes, but he saw the one. He saw the one. He stopped and he would heal them there. He would heal the woman that pressed in and just grabbed his garment.
Yes.
And then he says, guys, this is not just some history book. I want you to continue to do what I did.
Exactly.
My kingdom is and it is not yet. But you're called to do what I did, whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in any nation, the darkest, whether it's in the brothels of the earth, the slums of the earth, where Iris Global, we're so called the poorest people on the planet. You know, never forget the poor, never forget the poor. But we're also called to the ones that are just really needing fresh bread.
Exactly.
Even the lovers of God that want to shine in Hollywood, like they need fresh bread. Wherever we are, what does the kingdom look like? And that's something we want to know. And we learn a lot about the kingdom in this place.
Yes.
Walking in the footsteps of Yeshua, we learn about the kingdom. And he said he healed those who were tormented by various diseases and afflictions, those plagued by demons, the epileptics, the paralyzed, and he healed them.
Whoa.
We have had this amazing blessing of watching God heal every kind of disease.
It's amazing.
Every kind of disease, all over the world. It's the most beautiful thing. I mean, we know we're just clay pots, right?
Exactly.
We're the donkeys that he just gets to ride in on us. But what does it look like? What does it feel like to be used of God?
Yeah.
Isn't that such a privilege?
It's such a privilege and such an obligation and a responsibility for us too. It's a privilege, but it's too good for too few. What we have, the kingdom, is inside of us. Don't you think, Heidi? And I feel what you said about, I feel like today, this is a laying down of people's nets. I feel like people are challenged today to immediately to go, yes, God, I want my life to be fully and wholly yours.
Yeah.
And to actually let your kingdom come where I'm at right now.
Right now.
And it's too good for me not to share this, to not to let the kingdom flow out of my life.
Right.
Because if you belong to God, you carry the kingdom inside you. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yeah. And how do you let it out?
Yeah.
How do you let it out?
Yeah.
What does that look like? We need to be asking.
Yeah. How do I become a fisher of men?
Yeah. Like even here, we didn't exactly know about all the permits we needed to do this Iris podcast after hours. And you know, we just made friends with our Israeli brothers. We just made friends, and they said, you know, we're just going to let it go this time. We're just going to let you do it. And so I feel like the Lord's just, his favors on us that we get to be here, even though by accident we didn't know all the rules, but by grace we were allowed to be here.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was sharing the other day a story, but I'm thinking of it right now. Just the stories of how he sends us to a place and he tells us to stop, and then he heals. Then he heals. And I've had so many experiences, and our teams all over the world. Just the only way you're going to see the sick healed is to stop and pray for them. Well, I was sitting in northern Mozambique, way out in the bush, way out there, and there were these beautiful people of another faith, these chiefs, and we were sitting on a grass mat and just making friends and just dialoguing and really listening to them and just sitting there out there in their village, way out. I mean, they really didn't have any electricity,
Bush.
no running water. Out, they call it campo in Mozambique, like an outpost, a camp way out there. And we were sitting together, and suddenly I heard this screaming, and I thought, what am I supposed to do? I'm honoring the chiefs, and I'm speaking with them. This loud screaming, blood curdling screams. So I just asked for permission from the chiefs. Could I go for a moment? And I went, and some foreigners had been with me, and they, as they do, they had trash. Now out there, normally there's no trash out there. There's no plastic bottles or tuna fish cans or anything. But as foreigners, we have stuff. And so there were cans of open that the tuna had come out of, or the tomato sauce to make our spaghetti. And there's this little child who is an epileptic, and he was an outcast in the village. His clothes were just, he was covered. His clothes were just so shredded, and he'd wet himself so many times, and he was just such an outcast. And because he had so many fits, you could see his little body, he had cuts and bruises. And so what happened is he had jumped in this hole, this little trash pit, to try to get some foreigners' garbage, to try to get whatever he could find in there, treasures for him. And the other kids saw what he was doing, and they just jumped in on top of him. So you get this little guy who's already an outcast, who's already an epileptic, rejected, so poor, so just not loved by this village. And you see him just trying to get a little bit of foreigners' trash. I mean, imagine. It was surreal.
Yeah.
And then these other kids just jumping on him and beating him and then mocking him. Why do they mock him? Because he's just having this like grand mal seizure. He's literally, his eyes rolled back, his tongue's out, then it's in. He's completely trembling, shaking. I just grab a hold of him, and there's no doctors, nurses out there. They don't know what's going on. And I just grabbed this little guy, having a complete fit in my arms. And he loses his bowels, his bowel movements. He has no control over anything. And the Lord said, just hold him and look at him in the eyes. And he can't see me. He's completely having this fit. And just speak shalom, shalom. And in that place, the enemy cannot stand.
Yeah.
In that place, the seizure cannot continue. In that place is the healing power of Yeshua. And I just spoke shalom, shalom, the healing power of Jesus over you. And I just rocked him in my arms. And it was the most beautiful thing. I'll never forget it. He just came right back into his right mind. The seizure completely left him. And all just this torment left him. And he just looked at me. His eyes just opened up, and he looked at me with these eyes like, where am I? And who are you? And all he could see were my eyes. Of course, he's never seen me before.
Yeah.
And then I said, Lord, what am I to do now? You've healed this beautiful guy, but I'm sopping wet. My capellana's drenched. And the Lord said, just go back and sit with the chiefs. Don't go try to change your clothes or pretty it up or make it sweet smelling. It's real. It's real.
Wow.
It's real. Healing, seeing God heal the sick, I believe he's the healer. We're just little vessels, but his power and his love flows through our little lives. It's true. We read that in the scripture.
Absolutely.
So I walked back. I sat right back down, but holding this little guy. Now, this is when they started to come alive. Because I didn't try to film anything, you know. I was just like there with this little kid. I wasn't trying to, you know, we only let people film because we want the story to be known, but it's not so that people would look at us or say, wow, what an amazing miracle you did. No, it's not about us. Yeshua just did a miracle for that little guy because he loves him.
Yeah.
But as that happened, that miracle happened, these chiefs began to just melt. Like their hearts that were very, very much open to dialogue, but not open to receiving Yeshua in any way or inviting him in their hearts in any way. But when they saw the Lord himself perform a miracle on the most despised, outcast, broken little boy.
Who they knew.
Who they all knew. Of course, you can't hide an epileptic.
In a little village like
in
that.
a little village in the middle of northern Mozambique. No electricity, no water, nothing, no running water. And you can't hide a child. Like, he's having seizure after seizure. And then the living God comes in the middle of right there and heals him. Whoa. Sets him free from his hell, his torment, his seizures, his pain, and just does this beautiful miracle. So they looked at me and they said, Mama, come with us. And so I said, I thought, great. And I still kept carrying this little guy. And he wasn't 3, you know, he's probably 7 or so, 8, I don't know. But he was a little heavy for me. And I'm carrying him around. And then they took me to the most beautiful place in their village. So it's not technically the bush. You go through the bush to get to the village. So we're way through the bush to get to this kamput, this village. And they take me there and they say, do you like this land? Do you like this land? Look at Galilee. I like this land. This is spectacular. And they said, Mama, do you like this land? And I said, yes, it's beautiful. They said, well, we want to give it to you because we want to worship the one you worship. We all want to worship the one you worship. So we're giving you this land so you can build a place for all of us to worship in. And we did, and we do. Whoa. And that place is a beautiful house of prayer. We call all of our congregations out there houses of prayer.
Wow, that's great.
And there's a house of prayer out there. And that beautiful little boy is a worshiper of Yeshua, worshiper of Yesu.
Come on.
Out there in that village. So he keeps healing the sick today. So all we want to say to you as you watch this Iris After Hours is stop for the one, you know, wherever you are every day, find somebody you can stop for and love on, gently pray for. Sometimes it's not with your words. Sometimes it looks like cleaning up a beach. That may be the way you're stopping for the one right here. Just clean up a beach, pick up the trash. That's a beautiful way to share the gospel.
Oh, Heidi, that's amazing. Yeah, and I really feel that's open invitation for you guys right now, that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that Jesus is walking into you. In your Galilee, Jesus is walking to you to say immediately, drop your nets, put down whatever you're doing, and just let me come in to whatever you're doing, wherever you're called, wherever you're living, just to let the kingdom come and flow. Just stop for the one and to see his kingdom come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Come on. Oh, I love you, Heidi.
Love you. So good. It's great to be in Israel with you.
It's so amazing. So
we
soak
love
up the
it.
ambience, guys.
Come on.
We're gonna do a whole series of podcasts here. So yeah, be blessed. Leave some comments below. But thank you for watching. This is Iris After Hours on the ground in the Holy Land. Love you guys.
Israel.
Come on. Israel. This podcast is presented by Iris Global. For more information or to support the work of Iris Global, please visit us online at irisglobal.org.